I want you to make good content. So today, I'm going to show you how to go from this to this. Today's video, I really want to discuss some of the things that I've used as tools to make a bunch of content. I've released almost 200 videos now so far, most of them short form, but I'm at almost 50 long form videos as well. And I like to keep a nice simple system that allows me to make a lot of content quickly. I want to be able to go to the studio, make a bunch of content. If somebody needs me to shoot a couple video pieces, I can shoot that really easily, have it at the highest quality possible. But most importantly, I want it to be fast, I want it to be efficient, and I want you guys to do the same. So today I'm going to talk about the really simple ways, the cheapest ways, all the way up to the stuff that takes a lot of money, or at least from the perspective of what I do. In the future, I might build this out more, but it doesn't make sense to right now, so we're just going to keep it easy. In the description of this video, there's going to be links to a bunch of the gear that I use that I'm talking about. And these are affiliate links, meaning if you click on them and you go to Amazon and buy them, I get a little tiny kickback. It doesn't cost you any more, but it's just a way to help support the channel. And I like to buy camera equipment too, so let's get to it. The number one thing that you need to start making content, can we all say it together? Your cell phone. Everybody shoots photos, takes videos, and posts them using their phone. So this is the perfect place to start. This is where I started. As much as I love camera equipment and camera gear and all that high quality stuff that I could get into for days and days worth of videos, this is the best place to start. And knowing how to use this thing in the pro mode, or I'm not sure what the iPhone version is, but you can switch all the settings to make them high quality settings that work really well and consistently. This is a great way to start simple, cheap. There's a lot to learn when it comes down to making videos, and there's a lot of little tiny specs and things like that that you're going to really want to get your hands on and learn how to be consistent with before you actually start spending real money. The very first thing that you saw in this video was shot with a cell phone, of course. You could make things look better with some simple lighting. So let's start there. Okay, so here we go. We got ourselves the Neewer professional metal bicolor LED video light for studio, YouTube, production, photography, blah, blah, blah. Okay, this is a CRI of 96 plus. What that means is the color accuracy is going to be higher. You want to be at about 95 or more on the CRI scale. I wanted something that represents the colors nicely. It's easier to color grade. It looks more professional, makes the colors more true to what you see in real life. That's the basic way to explain this. But the NL660WU version, it's really simple. It doesn't do any crazy colors or anything like that. It's mostly just a color temperature between 3200 and 5600K. It doesn't have RGB functionality, although they do have a version of this for a little bit more money. But I wanted something that's really simple just to give me the nice color temperature light between 3200 and 5600 Kelvin. Right now I'm running this at 5600. Depending on what you do in your environment around you, you might change this. The 3200 is more yellow, 5600 is more towards daylight or more blue-ish on the scale. Depending on the environment that you're in or the type of colors that you want, you can change this. It's really easy to work. 80 bucks. This is most of the visual that we're seeing here. When it comes to my setup, I wanted something simple and cheap. And this is pretty cheap to get you in the door as far as like being able to mess with different styles of lighting. I think lighting is the number one most important thing when it comes to making something look cinematic or professional, or at least to give you control over the look that you want to go in. I don't have a crazy set or like YouTube setup or anything like that, so I just threw these colored LEDs in the background, which we're going to get to, and then one of these lights on there. Eventually I'll add more, but for now it gets the job done. It lets me start making videos and not worrying about too much about noise and other things like that. You can get batteries for these. So let's just say you are an artist that wants to go out on location and shoot stuff out on the field, like in a literal field. You could bring this and just get some supplemental, just a little bit of extra light if you need it, or if you're running around and just getting random shots. This is a great tool for that type of thing with some batteries. Okay, so what you're seeing behind me are these LED floodlight. They're mostly made for outdoors, but they're really good for just splashing some light around the room. We use these in the studio sometimes. It's really cheap. I got a 4-pack. I think it was less than $60. Depends on if you get them on sale or not. But that's not bad per light. you know, just to add a little bit of color in the room. I've got just 2 of these running right now. Comes with a little remote. I just turn them on. It makes me look like I'm in a really cool LED world. Okay, so the next thing I got right here is, do I have to do the YouTuber thing? The next thing I got right here is the Insta360 webcam. And what this thing is great for is obviously simple webcam stuff. I used to use Logitech back in the day, but I actually prefer this as far as like being able to capture the look of things. Some of my first videos that I was doing was using this camera. And sometimes I'll use this camera even today, even though I have a much more expensive camera now. It just depends on what I'm doing. If you get these on sale, you know, they're pretty good. Sometimes they have better ones. It's cool. It's a cool little thing. I mean, it's a webcam. What do you want? So the next thing that I have is what I use for my computer. I've got a custom PC built. Apparently this audio interface that I got, the Behringer UMC 1820, is not available on Amazon anymore, but I'm sure you can find it somewhere. You could try Sweetwater. I got it just because I wanted a lot of inputs and outputs. I wanted a little bit more flexibility, but if you don't want to do that, if you want something more simple, you can use the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. Now you could use the Solo, which is a single input. I don't know, I kind of like the idea of having 2, but if you want to make it cheaper, bam, do something like this with 1 input for a microphone, for any audio interface needs. This will get you in the door. I had a 2i2, the first generation, for like 10 years. No problems with it at all. Rock solid, it just worked. The only reason why I upgraded to this guy right here is because I just wanted more inputs and outputs. It does the job. We use a lot higher quality stuff in the studio, but again, these are tools, and you know, I don't need 32 ins and 32 outs. So I'm just going to go with this if you can get it. Now, something that you can pair with this is the Rode NT1, which is a really nice little cheap microphone. Now the microphone you see behind me right here, bam, let's pull this thing up. Sometimes I'll use this guy. I think that, yeah, it's like 160 bucks here on Amazon. This is the newer version with it. Comes with a pop screen, which is nice. If you don't really have a treated room and you want to not hear as much of the room, you want to hear more of what's right in front of you on the microphone, then the Shure SM7B is by far the most popular option, but that one costs more. This thing is great, especially if you have an audio interface. It'll get you in the door. You could record vocals with it. You know, if you really wanted to step it up, then that's a different discussion for a different time. Let's talk about the mics that I'm using right now. Look how cheap that is, 70 bucks. Okay, so this is the newer CM28 wireless lav mics. They're really nice. Here, let me show you what I've got going on here. So it comes with this little box. Bam, look at that. It comes with a receiver and 2 of these little microphones that you. Now I know how annoying this is for YouTubers when you got to do this all the time. It comes with 2 of these little microphones, and they do an okay job. So I've done some comparisons between these Rode mics and the DJI ones as well. These are nice. These probably sound a lot better. But again, like the point that I have is, you know, if you got the money and you're willing to spend it on something better like this, then go for it. But I really didn't want to spend that much money on this. I just wanted to make a bunch of videos. If I could make 500 videos and these microphones are giving me a lot of problems and I know that I'm really loving doing this and I want to do this more into the future, then I could spend more money. But 70 bucks for what I'm getting right now is not that bad. The biggest problem that I have with these microphones is simply the fact that I don't really want to spend time mixing them for my videos that much. So I'll put like a quick mix on them just because I'm trying to get videos out in between all the different things that I'm doing in life. And again, this could be the same thing for you. Like if you're going for what's quick and what's easy, these types of things are great tools to help you out, to get you in the door. If you're not willing to spend a ton of time really dialing in your sound and getting everything 100% right, but you just want something to walk around with and, you know, talking to, then, you know, this is a great option. I'm loving it so far. I've only had a couple little tiny problems, which probably just a user error where I wasn't fully set up right. And I was probably paying attention to the video, the way it looked, but not how it sounded. And I do this every now and again. I mean, this video might be distorted as well. Okay, now let's talk about the camera that I'm using now. We got ourselves the Sony a6700 APS-C camera. And this is just the body, it doesn't come with a lens, but this is a great way to start getting into higher end filmmaking or video making, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all that stuff. It does such a great job. Right now I'm shooting in 4K, 10-bit color which allows me to mess with the colors a little bit more in depth without, you know, it messing up and tearing apart the quality and all that good stuff. I love this camera. I got into photography a long time ago and videography in general. So this is something that I've always wanted to get back into. They have what's called full frame versions of these types of cameras that are supposedly better in low light and all that kind of stuff. But for what I'm doing, this has been doing great. I have not really been worrying about noise, sensor noise, and, you know, the degrading quality and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of that has to do with the lenses that I'm buying and the types of shots that I'm trying to set up. So depending on what you're trying to do, you might want to think about what type of camera is better for low light or whatnot. But for the most part, this thing is doing great, especially with the simple lighting setup that I got. If you're an artist that can't afford to pay for a million videos and shorts, but you want higher quality, this is a great way to get into it. There are cheaper options in the Sony world. You could get all sorts of used cameras and stuff like that that will bring the price down and allow you to not spend an insane amount of money. Out of all the research that I did, this seemed to make the most sense for me and what I was going for. And for the record, for this kind of camera, I wanted to be able to not just do YouTube videos, but I wanted to be able to go on vacation and shoot insane mountain shots and other things like that. I love different kinds of landscape photography and all that kind of stuff. But I also wanted to be in the studio and be able to if somebody wants to do a performance shot, be able to shoot something like that. Potentially even get into music videos if I really wanted to in the future. So I needed a camera that could do all these things well enough. Let's talk about the lenses. Lenses are a huge deal with cameras like these. And I wanted to go for something that let in the most amount of light to then also keep the noise levels down. I wanted something that gives me that blurry background like what you see here. I chose a set of 3 different lenses that are not zoom lenses, but I wanted to start with these because a lot of times it'll be the types of lenses that, again, let more light in and give you a blurrier background if you want it. So the first thing that I would start with is this brand right here, the Sirui Sniper lens. I'll just call it the Sniper series. Incredible price point for what you get. For 300 bucks, you could get the 16 millimeter. This is what it looks like right here. For 320 bucks, well, I'm sure you could get it cheaper when there's some sort of sales or discounts or something like that. This one goes down to the aperture of f1.2, and that's a great thing. If you guys don't know, this allows a lot of blurriness in the background, and that's what you want when you want to be able to make it look semi-cinematic or less like a cell phone. Cell phones are really good at capturing everything in focus. So like I'll be in focus, the background's in focus. But sometimes you want the camera to kind of like have me in focus and everything else out of focus. Really simple scenario here, but you know, when you're looking at a lot of movies and TV shows, they're able to dial that in precisely the way that they want, depending on the shot. We don't need to get into all that, but just know for this price range, for this lens and this series of lenses in general is incredible. Are they the highest quality? No. They have some different color shifts. They're not fully feature packed like some of the more expensive lenses, but then again, you could easily be paying $1,000 more per lens for the high quality stuff, aka the G Master lenses from the Sony line. Let's go to the next line. This next lens is the one I'm actually using right now, is the Viltrox 27mm 1.2. Again, I want that blurry background. I want me in focus. I want to let in a lot of light. And the lower that number is on the f-stop, the more light you get in. This is a much higher quality lens. You get more features from it, and it does a great job. I'm actually highly impressed with this, especially for the price point. It is more money, $578. You could get it for potentially in the mid 400s if you get it on sale. I don't know, like I absolutely love this lens. I'll keep this lens forever. You know, I have no reason to sell it. If you know what kind of shot you're trying to set up, this is incredible. So now to the next lens. Again, this is the Viltrox, the same line. I wanted something that was very similar performance-wise. I was really impressed from what I saw online. And I gotta say, in person, being able to shoot with these has been great so far. This is the 56mm. This is equivalent to an 80mm lens. This is one of my favorite like portrait photography style lenses. It zooms in just enough, it gets it just close enough to you to like really make the background like super blown out and really awesome. I use this a lot in the video that I was doing briskets. With these 3 lenses, the 16mm, the 27mm, and the 80mm, I basically have the range that I like covered. They have ones that zoom in way further, go way further out zoom wise, but I don't really need that for the types of stuff that I'm doing, at least not right now. In the future, I would like to get a zoom lens so I'm not swapping out lenses all the time. That's the only bad part about going about this, is you're just constantly switching out lenses. But for something like this that I'm doing, it's great, and I couldn't be happier with it. So the next thing that you want to do when you have these lenses is potentially get some filters on there. They could kind of change how things look. And when you go out into the sunlight, you're going to need something like this. I got the K&F Concept variable ND filter, which allows you to, on the lens, I could change the exposure on it, which is really great. So it gets a little bit, probably just messed everything up just by showing you this. Anyways, it's really nice to do that when you're trying to lock in certain settings on your camera. When you are out and about and you're outside, sometimes the sun gets really bright and you want to be at that 1.2 to get that blurry background. This allows you to basically put sunglasses on your lens, so that way you could still get that blurry background and also have the right exposure. It would be a completely different video to go in all the different settings and the exposure triangle and how this all works, but just to let you know, if you spend this much money on a camera, you're probably going to want something like this, or a couple of different versions of this to fit your lenses. And two of my lenses, the Viltrox ones, are the exact same thread fitting on the outside, which is just each one of these lenses just comes with like a little thread on the outside. So I got these little cheap step-up rings that allows you to change sizes. So now I can pop this on my third lens and use the same filters for all three of my lenses, regardless of the size thread on it, if that makes any sense. The next thing that I would use is more of like a visual filter kind of thing, which what I'm using right now. It kind of gives you this like cinematic effect, and it's pretty cheap, 26 bucks, you know, not bad. I'll show you the difference. I'm going to take these filters off real quick here and show you what it looks like without them. Got to make sure not to drop it all here. Okay, as you can see, it's too bright right now. Yeah, so background's blown out too much. It's too much. So now we got this back on, but we have that mist filter off. So I'm going to kind of put it in front of the lens a little bit here. Can you even tell a difference? You probably can't. Anyways, this type of filter is really good when you have a lot of lights going on. It kind of like fuzzes them out a little bit. It makes it a little bit of a softer image. It feels a little bit more cinematic. You do not need this. It's just kind of for fun and something I wanted to test out. Anyways, this is my first time doing a video like this. I probably messed up a bunch of stuff. Probably didn't say all the right things, but you know, I wanted to at least give you guys an idea of what kind of content gear I'm using to get the certain looks that I'm getting, and hopefully inspire you guys to pay more attention to the types of things that you guys might like, and potentially start thinking about some gear that you might want to have yourselves. Obviously, if you're hiring a videographer every single time, you don't have to worry about any of this, but that would be an insanely expensive thing to do, to have a videographer following you around. And almost nobody that I've ever met has been able to do something like that. You know, I think it's good to have some of these tools for yourself, or potentially collect them slowly over time, just so you have this. You by no means need to go as crazy as I did. I'm just really into this side, the filmmaker side of it. And this is a great way for me to just play around with this and have fun doing it while I want to. If you didn't get the camera and you were just using your cell phone, maybe getting a couple of lights and thinking about getting yourself a setup that is really easy to use in the future would be good. By the way, when I'm capturing this stuff on my screen, I'm using OBS, which is a free program. There it is right here. I've got it all set up to where if I open up Pro Tools, I could get audio route to it. And that's how I do all my stuff on here. Let me know what you guys think. Did I miss something? Should I continue to go in deeper on some of these topics? I really want you guys to be inspired to make content, have the know-how behind it to explore and create even your own style that nobody else has. And part of that is by knowing how this stuff works. Even if you hire a videographer, it's great to know how this stuff works. It helps you understand how to create ideas that are actually capturable from the videographer side. I appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you next time.